Hello there, it's Mike Patterson from Patterson Photography and First Choice Photo here in Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. Welcome back to my studio. So last time we talked about adding into your price list the expenses that you're going to incur to replace your equipment. But what equipment and how often is it going to have to be replaced? You need to figure that out. So for instance, if you have a camera, which you should have if you're a photographer, that camera is your main source of income. It's also the main thing that is being used in your business. If you have 25 lenses, which would be an extreme amount of lenses for most photographers, you may use each one of those lenses once a month. Maybe one lens gets used every day, maybe one gets used once a week, and so on and so forth. So maybe over the course of a month, you would use all your lenses. But does that mean that you have to replace all your lenses every year and the camera body? Well, probably not. Probably what you're going to have to do is figure out that your camera body is going to last you for a year or 2 years or 3 years, depending upon how many actuations the manufacturer says it's good for. So let's say your camera is good for 500,000 actuations. That means you can take 500,000 pictures before your camera is going to need servicing in a perfect world. If you figure that for a wedding you shoot 5,000 images, if for a family picture you shoot 500 images, and you then take how many weddings you do a year, how many families you do a year, how many babies, how many other things, figure out an average number of pictures for each of them added up. That will give you a good time to figure out where your camera is going to need to be replaced. Maybe a professional level camera is going to last you for 4 years. That's actually pretty good, considering that the camera is going to cost you about $4,000. So for each year, you're going to have to come up with $1,000 to buy a new camera after 4 years. But what about your lenses? Maybe you have a lens that you use all the time. Maybe you have a 24-70 lens that you live with that doesn't leave your camera except for certain situations. Well, chances are that lens is going to end up either getting broken or wearing out about the same time you're going to have to replace your camera, because it's going to be used an awful lot. But if you have, let's say, a 24-70 lens always on your camera and a 70-200 lens that you use once a month, are you going to have to replace that 24-70 at the same rate that you're going to have to replace the other lens? Probably not. So just keep in mind that you don't need to necessarily replace everything. For me, I've had a tripod now for 22 years. This tripod is a tank. I love it. It's heavy, it works, it's missing a few parts, but nothing that affects its work. I've never had to replace it. I've had monopods that I've had for years. Never had to replace them. I've had other tripods that have broken. So what I do is I calculate how much a tripod will cost me, figure out that it's going to last me about 10 years, and I put that into the mix. But obviously 10 years is a lot longer than 2 or 3 years with a camera, so I don't need to have as much into that camera fund or the equipment fund for the tripod as I do for other things. You also have to consider things like batteries. Camera battery only lasts so long. Now, for me, I've found that my batteries actually outlast my cameras. So I figure that if I have 4 cameras per battery or 4 batteries per camera, then I don't need to replace those batteries until I replace the camera, or even a little bit longer. So I add in an extra battery here or there to my mix. This would get me a dollar percentage, whatever you want, that you're going to have to start to apply towards your different packages. If you happen to have high-tech equipment, if you happen to have, like I have, microphones for doing video, well, guess what? Things get broken on microphones. Wires get shifted and so on and so forth. Clips get lost. You're going to have to calculate in that, well, for my video, I'm going to have to add in a little bit more because of this and that. You may have to have AA batteries or AAA batteries. If they're rechargeables, you're not too bad. You can figure out that a rechargeable battery will last you maybe 2 years and then calculate that into your prices. For me in the studio, I have studio lights. My studio lights, I've been very fortunate. I've had one pair for almost 25 years. They're a wonderful pair. They work great. In fact, I'm using them right now to do the lighting here for what I'm doing in the video. They're amazing lights. They were well worth the money I spent for them. I had put the money away years ago to replace them. And actually a few years ago, I did buy another set of lights just in case. I also have some other lights that I've pretty much given up on that I know that one of these days they're not going to work. So I'm prepared to replace them when they don't work if I should need to. So before you get into figuring all this out, figure out each piece of equipment, how much you use it, what you use it for, and how much you are going to have to put aside for each job, each month, each year to replace that piece of equipment. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope your business is doing wonderful. Get out there and make some money and have a great time doing it. Take care.